Good afternoon and welcome to Harsh Reality broadcast on the 28th of March 2013. At the moment it's 12 o'clock in the UK and I've been watching with interest the financial position in Cyprus. Things appear calm now in Cyprus. Doesn't seem to be any problems with any civil disobedience. In fact, this has been reflected now in the markets. The markets in the UK, the FTSE 100 index has risen by 0.73% to 6,433 points, and gold has fallen by 0.32% to $1,599 per ounce. So there appears to be calm at the moment. I'm actually quite surprised with this because the fundamentals are absolutely dreadful. As many of my viewers will know when they look at my previous recordings, they know that I do talk about fractional reserve banking. Fractional reserve banking in itself is okay, but when it's abused it then becomes a problem. Prior to 1971 the dollar was pegged to the gold standard, so you had a sensible fractional reserve ratio of 1 to 9. Post 1971 the dollar became a fiat currency to help support the Vietnam War. That's, in my opinion, when I think the problems really started for Western economies, because we lost a sensible fractional reserve ratio of 1 to 9. They started to over leverage. The ratio became 1 to 15, 1 to 20, 1 to 25 and ended up about 1 to 40. So that meant that they loaned out into existence 40 times as much as they had in reserve. That was completely unsustainable. They introduced credit cards, subprime lending and that awful time bomb derivatives, which is yet to explode. When they introduced credit cards, that also, as I mentioned before, increased the money supply, but it also attracted a very, very high interest rate. It started the housing boom. There was too many people chasing houses, and they were prepared to pay more and more as the house prices increased. It got to a stage where a lot of people even used their credit cards to help get a deposit for a mortgage. The system went absolutely crazy. Therefore, in my opinion, the system is really going to fall big style. I truly believe there's going to be a major depression ahead. I don't think anything can stop the depression. But reality does not seem to hit home yet. It really is going to be bad. Let's have a look at the facts. In the US, there's a debt ceiling currently standing at $16.4 trillion. The issue was supposed to be dealt with again in March of this year, but has been pushed back to May. So when May comes, the debt ceiling issue has to be addressed. Now I think they'll kick the can down the road and probably increase it to about $19 trillion. At the end of last year, the fiscal cliff issue was supposed to have been sorted out. It wasn't. They ducked the issue. All that happened was the 2% increase in taxes that was going to come in anyway following the tax reduction in the Bush administration. The sequester, there was a cut of only $85 billion. That is an absolute drop in the ocean. Think about this. We have quantitative easing at a rate of $85 billion per month, including mortgage-backed securities. That represents an increase of $37,900 per second. Anybody that wants to try the maths on that, welcome to do it. I've actually calculated it and that is the figure it comes to. Also last year there was a budget deficit in the US of $1.2 trillion. Again, that comes to about a spending of 32 $100,000 per second. People just don't understand these big figures. The system is only afloat because we are not facing reality at the moment. I've always said the tipping point has been passed. We will never pay back the debts that we owe. It is a mathematical impossibility. Because what is now happening with time is that the interest becomes a higher percentage of the monies that we have to pay back. So it's crippling. What should have happened many years ago, we should have had a politician that was strong enough to deal with the issues. But the problem is, if a politician comes across as being honest and says it as it is, the fickle public will not want to elect him. Ron Paul was a perfect example of that, but he had the added problem that the mainstream media didn't back him. He knew the problems and he was prepared to sort it out, but it would have meant drastic spending cuts. But we have to balance our budgets sometime. Now, when I was following the Cyprus issue, I was very, very concerned when initially they wanted to take monies off the depositors. Anybody that had monies in the bank, they wanted to take their money. Anybody that had under 100,000 euros was going to be having a tax of 6.75%. They call it a tax, they call it a levy, I call it stealing. And anybody that had over 100,000 euros, that was going to be taxed at 9.9%. That, as far as I was concerned, was a game changer. It completely destroyed the confidence of people in Western economies, because the whole world was watching this, and it was absolutely astounding that innocent depositors were going to have theft from the bank accounts. And that was a very powerful message sent out, and there's going to be massive repercussions of that. Okay, things have been revised in Cyprus now. My understanding now is that anybody with above 100,000 euros in their deposit accounts is going to have a levy of 40%. But my understanding also is that it's going to be exchanged for bank shares. Now we'll see how all this develops, but this is the tip of the iceberg. I really do believe that a financial collapse is on its way. I can't give exact timings because it depends how confident people feel, and it depends how long politicians and the banking elite can get away with just borrowing from the future. But the day will come. There is absolutely no doubt about that. I said in my previous videos that I think the market will crash and also gold will start to rise. I still believe that is going to happen. It's just a question of when. So I just thought I'd give you this update explaining how concerned I am with the current Western economies. We are not out of the woods. It surprises me how people react. It really does. Thank you for watching, and I'll put my usual cartoon videos on in the near future.